If you look at geopolitics as it continues to play, each competitor's strategy has its own flaws, and their uncertainty seems to be the United States of America to exploit. But contrast between Russia and China's involvement in Africa and Washington neglect is stark. If you look at African rising at the moment, considering the African Continental Free Trade Agreement as it's at the moment its implementation phase. If you look at aspect, however, investing in Africa is not just about competing with China and Russia. Africa is an epicenter of tremendous opportunity. If human capital is truly in the greatest asset to economic growth, Africa has unappreciated potential. In the next 35 years, Africa's population is expected to double and comprising nearly 30% of the world's population by 2050. By 2025, an additional 90 million African households will enter the consumer class, contributing purchasing power of over $2.1 trillion to the global economy. If you look at Africa's presence, Africa has also the potential to become the world's next manufacturing epicenter. As the cost of labor in the Chinese increases, experts project that 100 million labor-intensive jobs will leave country by 2030. With Africa as a likely landing spot, the Brookings Institute estimated that manufacturing spending in Africa will grow by over 50%, reaching more than $660 billion by 2030. In 2021, 54 of the 55 African countries initiated the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which I've pointed out, a free trade agreement that eliminates tariff on 90% of goods, enabling free flow of raw materials essential for manufacturing to thrive. If you look at Africa's emergence, there are also more immediate economic interests at play. Africa holds a vast repositories of three earth elements vital to the production of everything from cell phones, LED screens, and also to energy infrastructure and defense technologies. More than 2/3 of the world's cobalt, an essentially ingredient in lithium battery, is in the Congo. Around 35% of the world's bauxite, a key component of the aluminium production, is found in Guinea. However, China currently holds a virtual monopoly on world's rare earth element production, putting American economy and national security at risk. If the United States of America wants to secure access to raw materials required to build future, it's going to have to do that in the continent of Africa. If you look at geopolitics at its play, politically, African nations were surprisingly significant yet subtle influence on a host of global issues. At the United Nations, African countries comprise nearly 28% of member states, as I've pointed out, providing a powerful voting bloc comparable on channeling resources to initiated aligning to its interest. Unity amongst the A3, the three rotating African members of the United Nations Security Council, increases Africa's voice on the Council's resolutions, even ones that don't relate to Africa. What's more, the way in which African leaders choose to implement the African Continental Free Trade Agreement will determine which global powers have greatest access to the continent. Wide market worth more than $3.4 trillion if you look at figures. Earlier indications are that China is in the big winner if you look at Chinese interaction in the region. No doubt there are challenges to progress in Africa, but progress is being made, and truth is that Africa will play a central role in the next century, demographically, economically, and also politically, whether the United States likes it or not. If you are new to this channel, we will encourage you to subscribe, share our videos with your different network, and give us a like, and we will appreciate that. As geopolitics shift and also changes with regards to US presence in the region and the presence of China and also Russia with regards to the continent, Africa's choosing its own path. Today, Washington primarily views the continent of Africa as a problem to be managed rather than as a partner in shaping the new century. Promising economic and demographic trends have driven African energies and also emergence as a significant player on the world stage. But the United States has been slow to establish a clear, proactive policy for Africa. This is a strategic blind spot that most US policymakers can't seem to shake, and one that their competitors don't have. If you look at the aspect, instead of a problem to be solved, China and Russia view Africa as an opportunity to be seized, and also from 2007 to 2017, the United States of America's trade with Africa dropped by 54% as China's grew by 220% if you look at figures, while Russia's total investment in Africa pales in comparison to the United States of America and China. It grows also by 40% since 2015. China supports 46 port projects in Africa, financing more than half and operating 11. The United States of America supports 0. In 2006, China launched a Forum on African-China Cooperation, bringing together heads of state from across the continent every 3 years. Russia began a similar junket in 2019, holding the first Russia-African summit at the time in Sochi. The United States hosted something similar in 2014, despite the fact that we've seen other events taking place in the US most recently and Russia also most recently, if you look at other aspects. But that hasn't changed. The Biden administration has recognized Washington's error and announced plans to host a second event, which took place already. But a diplomatic game in the United States is still playing from the behind. If you look at other aspects, in a savvy soft power move, China launched a 2015 initiative to put satellite television in 10,000 African villages. To surprise, the television set came from free, preloaded access to Chinese stations, pumping state-sponsored content into homes across the continent. Today, Russia embeds a former intelligence agent as a senior defense advisor in the Central African Republic, employs the Wagner groups in Libya and also elsewhere, and has deals with 7 African sub-Saharan countries to build their nuclear energy infrastructure with regards to strategic options in the region. We want to thank you for watching. We hopefully have informed you with regards to the geopolitics as it plays in the region. If you are new to our channel, we encourage you to subscribe, share our video with your different network, and give us a like. We are looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Africa is the only continent in the world where the people sing and dance and applaud those who impoverish them, who starve them, and who torture them. The misfortune of Africa is to have met France. End of quote. It's true that the West was violent with Africa, raped it, and stole from Africa. So what is our share of the responsibility in all of this as African leaders? Is it not us, the African leaders, who have abandoned our identity? Our names have disappeared in order to make way for other names that do not match our realities. We need to reconquer our own culture and take ownership. And that's why today people try to make us believe that our values and our attitudes are not natural and are not part of freedom.